So, all righty. Well, John and Michael, thank you guys for showing up, and we're going to. You guys will forgive me. I'm gonna be looking at notes and glasses on, so I can't. I can't see no more. So I gotta act.
Me either.
Right. I have to. I have to. I have to. I'm still trying to not act so vain and take my glasses off and squint real hard. So, so for reading. Hey, so what I'm going to do and I'm going to skim over notes and topics is when at the shareholders meeting, we talked about a lot of stuff Thursday. And John, did you get a lot of stuff? Did you get a lot out of Thursday's meeting?
Yeah, that was good. Where my let me get my notebook. But the thing where like they fix up the houses and then you don't pay until after you sell.
Curbio.
Yeah, Curbio. There you go. Where is my notebook?
The green one?
Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, I wrote down a lot of stuff.
Good. That's good. That's good. That's good. You
Curbio, and then what was the thing? Just buy boxes. What invest? Oh yeah, and then the obviously the express leads.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Did you happen to go on and look at getting certified for Express Leads?
I was gonna do that tomorrow.
Okay. Okay.
Just have some free time before I go to work.
Good, good. Yeah, I would definitely tell you to look into that. I think that's going to become even more expansive down the road, and depending upon what the market does or does not do, there's going to be some opportunities there. One thing I forgot to mention about express offers too is that they don't have a lot of them yet, but for agents that have signed up and certified, they are sending leads as they get leads. And it's not like it's a one-on-one lead. Like it might be something that comes out, and all three of us will get the same lead. It'll kind of be who
Yeah.
responds first, but it's good opportunities. It's good opportunities and something else. So, um, like I said, there were different themes in the shareholders meeting, and we had beside the 60 agents that are on different panels, we had probably that many what they call breakout sessions. And the breakout sessions would be under different topics. A lot of them will be at the same time. So Flora and I split up quite a bit to go to them. But they would generally be from anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. And then they would have big general sessions. And that was kind of the Ed Milat stuff and some of the stuff I was talking about Thursday. But I'm going to go into a little bit more of some of the breakout sessions that I thought were pretty cool, at least some of the topics and stuff. So one of them that I went to earlier, then the title was "Rewire Your Habits, like to boost your sales." And they talked about like some of the top skills, really top 5 skills that we should really be building in this area right now, as far as where the market is going and where the market is at. Normally, for particularly at a shareholders meeting, an awful lot of it talks about like agent attraction, but where the market is at, there was much more emphasis on production, being more productive, mindsets, things like that. So to rewire your habits to boost your sales, one is that they were telling people to really make your goal setting and prioritization like the number one thing that you have to kind of keep doing in your business, to really set goals and then prioritize what needs to be done. Talked an awful lot about, even with your to-do list, is to keep your quote unquote to-do list um, minimal. Minimal meaning that you can overwhelm yourself with your to-do list. And even when you put your to-do list together, then prioritize those things. So if you have like 10 things that's on your to-do list, that depending upon what's on there, realistically, as you get busy and you're doing stuff, you may only have time to do 3 or 4 of them. So you want to make sure that those 3 or 4 that you prioritize them at the top of your list. And then as those get done, and as you add more lists add more stuff to your list, you continuously prioritize them in order to get them done, but get them done to, as you know, you talk about your 20%. In a day, you want to focus on what your top 20% activities are versus the 80% of that are just kind of like busy work. That goes back to the busy. Don't just be busy. Be intentional, etc. And that led into time management. They're really big right now on time management and making sure that you really, with your goals, with everything else, your to-do list, that you set times so that you get things done in those slots, and to treat everything like it's an appointment. Don't treat certain things like okay, you're supposed to be, I'm going to lead generate from 8 to 9, and then something comes up and it immediately bumps out the 8 to 9 lead generation, because the truth of the matter is nobody wants to do it. Nobody really wants to do that part. And all you get an appointment, you get something else, and you slot it right there. So it really emphasizing from a time management standpoint is you make your appointments. If your appointment is a lead generation appointment, your appointment could be pick up your kids. It could be whatever it is. It can be something, but whatever you slot in that time, you do it. You do it. And if something else comes up, the response basically is, I already have an appointment scheduled at that time. So these are the times I have available. I don't care. Now, obviously, there's going to be certain, you got to have some basics. Obviously, there are going to be certain times where you might have to make some other arrangements, but you don't want that to be your norm. Working on your systems and routines is like in every business, and I'm bad at this, and Michael's much better at it, to be honest, is to make sure that you have your systems and your routines built. This is a really good time when the market is a little bit slower to actually build those systems and to really get certain routines together, so that you already got this set up as the market improves. It's really difficult sometimes to work on stuff like that when the market's really hot. But when the market, quote unquote, is really hot, your focus at that point is putting buyers and sellers together, and investors and all of that. So it's difficult to say, okay, I'm going to not do that today because I'm going to work on some systems. So right now is a good time to do that, and to work on something else that I'm not good at. I'm better than I used to be, but I'm not as good with having a tracking process to make sure that the stuff that you're doing is working or not working, so that you can make sure your systems, your routines, your goal setting, all of that stuff works. And the last one in that class, something that I would say I am pretty good at, and I think this carries you through all parts of your business, is to have some accountability. Accountability not only within yourself, accountability to your business, and sometimes you need to reach out and have accountability. Maybe it's an accountability partner, like I was mentioning. Rodney Johnson and I, we're still. Rodney's probably the only person in our little circle that's been in business a little longer than I have. I think he's got me by a year, something like that. So we've been together in this business a long time. There's not too much that we haven't seen. Most people would consider us, pretty decent producing agents, but we're 7:30 every morning. Since we said we're going to do this, we're texting each other 7:30 every morning, and talking about what we got done the day before, what's on the goal for today. Right, and it's kind of like no nonsense texting, and we're not like just how you doing, blah blah. It's like, how many people are you talking to or not talking to? You got any appointments? What's your schedule? And then holding each other accountable the following day to go over those items, to tell us, to where we talk. And again, sometimes, when you have people that are, you're in an accountability group or something like that, that sometimes there needs to be some incentives. We've been around a long enough time where we don't even have any incentives. 7:30 every day, and I normally don't get on my computer till 8. I'm up and whatever, but I don't like having my phone on or none of that. But now, 7:20, had to get clicked in and get ready. I have to also make sure that I've had my schedule put together the night before, so I got something to talk about at 7:30. It does make you more productive, and it gets you into a pretty good mindset. So I would tell you that as you see me clicking through stuff. We went a lot over we went over this Thursday a lot of a lot of the vendor stuff. But I would there were a couple of things I didn't go over which I forgot. Here's one, and well, there's a couple, and I would tell you to look in the workplace, and you can get better examples and understandings of this. But one is if you've not uh, connected, there's something called Utility Connect, and what you do with Utility Connect is you sign up for it, and you can push it and promote it, or have it connected to your Sky Slope. So, in a nutshell, when you have clients that are when they're closing escrow, Utility Connect actually will assist them if they choose to help them get all of their stuff turned on, cable, trash, electricity, whatever it is. They'll help assist them to get connected. When they get when the if the customers use them and they get connected, Utility Connect actually will send you revenue share from that. And it's not a lot, but it's another stream of revenue share. They don't take it out of the clients. It doesn't come back. The clients don't pay more for their utilities because they went through Utility Connect. The Utility Connect part is only a service, and it's something that it looks like it does come from you, and the clients can see that there's another service that you can provide. So I would tell you to look into Utility Connect. The
So
other one,
is it its own thing, or we find it on Sky Slope?
you can find it in Workplace. You can
In
go in,
Workplace, okay.
yeah, you can go into work. All of these things, in the majority of times with vendors or any of this stuff, you can find them in Workplace, and you can go into the world, and the world has a whole room and section that has like all of the vendors, all the affiliates in it, where you could actually go in and talk to somebody specifically about them. And I would actually suggest that to this one. Now I've only got the basics to this one is because something I'm going to look into myself. But I don't know, Michael, you may have heard of this already, but it's called Divvy. Are you familiar with Divvy?
I
So
just got my certification.
oh, Divvy, okay. So obviously, basically with Divvy, and I know Michael can elaborate on it a little bit more, but you basically they'll buy a home with cash for a client and put to get and that client can then rent from Divvy until they can pay for that house. So, like your client has a house, and Michael, I'll let you jump in since you already signed up, got certified for it. But your client finds a house, they don't qualify for it, whatever, they really like it, and with the way the program, the general part of the program is Divvy would pay for the house. They pay for the house, they pay cash, and then they have an agreement arrangement with your client for when that they can get into the house until they can pay for it. Michael, you can give him a few more
Yeah.
specifics if you have some.
So yeah, I mean, it's a great thing. You can use it for that situation. You can have somebody says, "Oh, I'm renting. I'm only renting now. I'm not ready to look for a place for a year." And you can tell them, "Hey, that's great. Why don't we find a place that you would want to buy? You can rent it right now, and these people will come in. They'll close it. When they close the house, you as the realtor get your commission, right? They get a house that they rent, and then they have things that get sent to them. This is how much it will cost if you want to buy the house this year, next year, in 3 years, and it just keeps going. Well, they can rent the house, but anybody who's renting, you can say, well, would you like to have the option to buy the house that you rent? And if they say yes, you can connect them up with Divvy. Divvy will pay for this house, and you will get the commission. So it's a great thing. It's not quite. They're open in a few different states. They're coming to California. It's not in California soon. So when you go to Workplace, get certified, because the more people that are certified in California, the sooner they'll bring it into open. But the good thing about it is it's not restrictive. I've seen another rent to own program, and they're like, you can buy these properties, and there's like 4 or 5 in a city. They just say the house has to be, move in ready. It's not a fixer upper. It's just got to be, a decent home, and they can go through and buy it.
How do you spell Divi? Diviy?
DIVVY.
Yep.
BVY.
Yeah, yeah. There was a lot of AI talk, but I'm gonna and I may come back to some of that. But I wanna jump to this particularly because John, you're newer to the business, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was I thought there were quite a few classes with this, and one Ricky Carruth taught. And have you heard Ricky Carruth, John, or seen any of his
I,
YouTubes or teachings or anything?
I have not.
So I would. So one thing I would unless unless Michael thinks not, I would tell you, man, is to look up. Ricky has what's called a Zero to Diamonds program. Ricky was originally Ricky had been with Remax, and he was Remax's top agent in Alabama for a lot of years. And initially, Ricky was not very. I don't want to say he was. I don't want to say he was anti EXP, but he wasn't as big on EXP, and eventually came over. Now he sings the EXP just everything, and he has a program. It's called Zero to Diamonds, and it basically is free coaching, 100% coaching. It's free, and I mean it's real coaching. It's the same stuff that you would pay a quote unquote a coach, thousands of dollars for. And he's got an accountability part to it, and there's never a fee to it, never a cost. So I would tell you to look into that. Ricky's last name is spelled Carruth, and
CARRUTH.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
a very good, lot of information, and he does some accountability stuff. Like I get a text from Ricky every morning about something he's doing, and his text he's sending out, they're not coming out auto generated. So he actually responds to a lot of them, not all of them, but a lot of them. So I would tell you that it's a good little thing. So he was on this panel with a couple of other people. I didn't really know the other people like personally, but the topic was building market share by nurturing your client relationships. And I thought that was very good. I think that's something that's very good for those of us either that have been in business for a while and we have some, quote unquote clients, past clients, we're trying to keep that relationship big, or if you're new or newer and you're adding to your database and trying to build on that. I'm not sure which one of you guys there's a little feedback, just letting you guys know. Hey Sharon, how you doing? And so they talk about some of the top 5 skills that you need. Here's one that I think as agents sometimes we don't think about, and I think that it should be actually this should be the forefront, in my opinion, of doing business, and that is making sure that you're working on the relationship over the transaction. That the transaction part of the deal cannot be what drives you. It cannot be what first. Obviously, we all need transactions to close. We need to eat, pay our bills, all of that stuff. But that the relationship that you're building, and that's whether or not the deal closes or not, is more important. Because the more relationships that you build, obviously, the referrals, things like that. I've always had a saying that, in my personal opinion, that the money is really made with a client the second transaction that you do with them, not the first one. The first one is a culmination of whatever happens and all that. But that second transaction, that third transaction, that's where the real money is made, because you have to what one of the things you want to look at, and this is why, at least for me, buying leads didn't work for me, particularly early in my career, is that there is a cost per lead, and you have to look at how much did it cost you per transaction. I'm not talking about referral fees, that sort of thing. You take referrals, we all do that. But how much did it really cost you to get that lead to a deal? And you want to make sure that you that is cost effective for you. Also, that is part of your relationship building, that you have some empathy and really and some rapport as you're building the relationship, because you want people to not feel like they're a number. I mean, you guys know how it is too. You'll do stuff. I mean, you might be at Best Buy, you might whatever it is. You can tell that during the sales process, you're just a number. Elton's number B56782, and as you're building a relationship, you don't want the customer to feel like that. The customer should feel like you are their own, like they're your only client. And again, we kind of talked about this Thursday, is you do want to have, quote unquote, some empathy, some understanding, and to remember that for the client, this is an emotional experience. Everything is emotional when it comes to this versus it just being an everyday experience, because it's not for them. I don't care how long they've lived in the house, if they're selling it. I don't care if it's their first time they're buying. I don't care if it's their 10th house. It's still an emotional drive to it that we don't feel every day because we're selling it. If you ever want to change that and to understand what your clients are going through, go buy another house. Go buy another house. You know what I'm saying? You buy a house, you all of a sudden, like, it's funny. We just closed escrow on our daughter's place. My daughter and her husband last week. There's a whole different emotion to it than it is when you're working with someone. Well, I know Sharon recently closed one for her son. It's a whole different emotion. It's a whole different process when you're going through it that way. So you forget that sometimes. So make sure that you do that. Also, really try to, as you're nurturing some of the relationships, really start to try to understand the behavioral styles and maybe understanding the disc profile, or just understanding of the behavioral patterns of the person that you're working with. Now, I will tell you that I'm not into linguistics, and I'm not really into that stuff like that. But what I am into is, and I firmly believe, is that people do business with people that they like. And one of the best ways to get people to do business with you, or to quote unquote like you, is you match them where they are at, because they'll feel more comfortable, and they'll talk more. So if you're working with someone and you're talking to somebody, they talk really, really fast, they talk like this, and blah, 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 et cetera, et cetera, no problems. If you talk to them like that back, they get it and they feel really comfortable. If they're loud like me and whatever, and if someone's talking loud back to me, you get it, because they're that way. If they're slow when they're talking, if they're low key, they call it mirror and matching. And in the beginning, to you, it might feel weird. To your customer, your client, they feel so much. It's so relationship building with them, because they're thinking, "Wow, John really gets me. You had a great conversation with John. John may not have talked hardly at all, but they're talking and they're feeling really comfortable with you from that." If you're building your client relationships and you're trying to build your business like that, be at, which I'm sure pretty much all of us do, and I had to get back into this, but more networking and community involvement. That goes big. That goes big. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to. I think you can go too much in that way. You can begin to do a whole bunch of networking and community involvement, and you can act like it's work, but you're not really working. You just kind of socializing. So you're doing this stuff intentionally. With networking, don't just network, my opinion, and they talked about this there. Don't just network with real estate agents. I mean, you want to network with real estate agents because obviously, we may be able to get a heads up on a property that's not on the market, stuff, real estate advice. But if you really, with your networking, reach out of your box, network with other individuals, preferably get in some groups or some things where maybe they only have one person per profession in the networking group. Maybe that you'll be the only realtor, there'll be one insurance person, there'll be one accountant, there'll be one attorney, because guess what happens? What happens when you get into networking situations like that, when anyone in the network has something real estate wise, there's only you to go to. So they give you, so those leads. And then of course you reciprocate. Someone needs an accountant or whatever, and you're referring to them, good way to build some build your database and your relationships building. Uh, always follow up. Always follow up and make sure you do client appreciation type things. And follow up that I think that we fail at as realtors a lot of times. I'm not just talking about the follow up that you give them during the transaction. I'm not just talking about the follow up, like you said, that you're about to take somebody out to show look at some homes, and you follow up to make sure they've got them pre-approved. I'm talking about following up after the deal is done. The deal's done. The transaction is closed, and they don't hear from you like forever. That's the stuff that I want you to look at with your follow up, because that's how you get that second and third deal from them. That's how you get that referral from them, because you're still staying top of mind. You're really building your relationship that way too, because the client knows and understands that whatever you're doing to assist them, if it's nothing more than saying hi and you're talking to them or whatever, that you're not getting a check for that. You're not getting a check for doing that. So since you're not getting a check for doing that, and you're still following up to them, that relationship now that you're building with them is even that much better. Anybody have any input or any questions about that, or any input or stuff that you've seen with some of the stuff that you're doing?
I just want to just add on, because I know with the networking part, like you said, that's a slippery slope, and you just have to focus and be really intentional and watch for, we all like to build those relationships, but you are doing it for a business, so it's intentional networking, like you said. And we're looking for somebody to raise their hand. Like, that's where you have to have your eyes open. You're networking. But when you mentioned, hey, I'm a realtor. If somebody mentions something about, oh, I know somebody looking to buy a house, or I've been thinking, when that hand gets raised, that's when it goes from, okay, I built this relationship, now let's work on the transaction. You still have the relationship, but you have to be able to turn that switch. It's relation. I can work on this transaction now, and they'll see you as doing your business, and then go back to your relationship and keep it going. But you gotta plug in, like you said, be intentional about it. So
one of the and on that, as Michael said, a person that is really is good at that, that I tease a lot is Pilar. So like, Pilar's not the type that will she's not cold calling nobody. She ain't knocking on no doors. She ain't that ain't her style. But she even sold the Sparklets guy 2 houses. He knocked on the door. Next thing I know, she showed him property. And I guess wait about 10 years later, because he's still been our Sparklets guy. 10 years later, through the follow up stuff, they get in the system. I keep following up with them, ready to sell that house. He knocks on the door, ready to sell again. I'm thinking like, I'm out here sweating, and man coming to the house, and Pilar still in the house. You may have heard the story. We went on vacation. We went on vacation, and I forgot what country we're in, and we're in a bus, like taxi type thing, and somebody said something about real estate, and I'm thinking, I've got the switch turned off, which is very rare. Switch is turned off, and I'm like, I don't want to be bothered. Pilar starts talking back and forth with the people. It was a couple, and one of them ain't saying nothing. Like, I ain't saying nothing. And come to find out, they lived just down in Florida. Next thing I know, about 6 months after we got home, they called. They had a house in Valencia that they wanted to wind up. They bought and sold. So that's that. At the end of the day, that's still prospecting, and that's what she's comfortable with. That works. So I say that to say to you that lead generation, like when I came up, you were taught quote unquote prospecting, and there was only an aggressive way to do that. You called expires, bestowed by owners, you knocked doors, you did cold calling. That's basically how you build business. But there's so much more you can do. There's so much more you could have done then. I just didn't know it. And there's so much that you can do now. One of the things is just being intentional and having conversations and not being a secret agent. So that goes on Michael's point. One of the other classes that I went to a class, and the title of the class is Manage Your Massive Database Using KV Cores. You guys know, I know that, like, Michael's using Chime now. I don't really care what CRM that you use, but I got to tell you guys, man, you got to have you've got to have a CRM, and one of the biggest things that the CRM has to have, which we were talking about here, though, it's got to have automation to it. You can't. I won't say that you can't, but what we want to eventually get to is we want to get to the point to where we're really running businesses and we just not just running a high paying job. So like sometimes, an awful lot of times with myself, I feel like I have a high paying job because I can't step out of the business completely and the business still run. That's eventually where at least for me, I would like to get to. But when you're managing, you have a database, you have leads, you're doing all this stuff to get deals. You've got to feed that into something. And it has to be something that'll be automated because it works when you're not. You know what I'm saying? It's going to work. It's going to still reach out and touch your clients, whether it's through emails, whether it's through text campaigns, whether it's through reminding you to send out letters, postcards, or you have it done directly from the system itself. Like I did not realize you could do that through KV4, but from one of the classes that I went to, you can actually massively set up letters and things like that to go out automatically from KV Core. So you want to be able to do that so that it works for you, and then you want to be able to maximize the CRM. Like for instance, and again, I'm fully transparent. There's certain things that I don't do as well. Like I've always been the type where I'll like, you know what, I'll just outwork you. It's just gonna be really hard for you to outwork me, and sometimes it's better just to take a breath and to be a little bit smarter, and then quote unquote outwork somebody. So like for me, even when when we signed up and I signed up with KV Core, the first thing that I should have done that I did not do, and then I started fooling around trying to clean it up later, is to organize your database and what they're calling database segmentation. So what they were talking about is that you should have your database set up, particularly with hashtags. So it's like hashtag your sellers, hashtag your buyers, hashtag your spear, hashtag whatever. If you have a lead generation source, if you're using Zillow leads, hashtag Zillow leads, whatever the case may be, so that as you start doing your marketing or you start doing your follow-up, you're doing it in a more systematic way. And then you can have your campaigns set up to where it specifically is going out to people that are in that that are in that part of your database. So I talked about that. I got a lot out of that. I always get a lot out of that. I always don't get it done right, but eventually I get there. I would tell you, if you're particularly in the beginning, you can set this stuff up in the beginning, and it goes on autopilot. It goes much easier. Digital marketing. You've got to have your CRM has got to have some sort of digital marketing. I mean, it's got to get to the social platforms. It's got to be able to connect directly to your social stuff. The days, if not, you might as well be doing 8.5 flip cards and or using a notebook. But it's got to have some of these tools. It also has to have good follow up of what they call lead nurturing. So again, you have to remember, depending upon where you find where your lead is more often than not, they're not ready to go right then, right? The lead that's ready to go right then, you treat them a whole different way. If they're telling you they're going to buy or sell a house in the next week, that's not a person you just putting in your campaign and then they're just getting letters and emails. They're that's an aggressive, their hands raised, they need to buy or sell something today. So you want to treat it as such. But the person that comes in, like they say, the average person say that you'll get from the internet. Not only are they talking to everybody on the internet, more than likely it's the average, the last average I've heard, and Michael, you can tell me if you've heard a different number now, but it's generally about 18 months from the time that they start to do anything to the time they actually have a closed transaction. It's going to be almost 12 months before they really want to engage with you. It's going to be 6 or 7 times before they remember your name and remember why you're bothering them all the time. So you need something that kind of follows up for you, that does that stuff, so that your business is doing those things on its own while you do what you're supposed to do to get more leads, to get more appointments, to service more clients, and that your system should have some sort of analytics and some sort of reporting to it so that you can track and really follow up on what's really happening in it. So I thought that was a great class. Another one, I'm a big mindset person. And John Ackley wrote a couple of books on mindset. I think that your mindset can, and being a former athlete, I just think your mindset can take you to certain places that even if you have certain talent, won't take you. I think that your mindset can be the difference between you being quote unquote a superstar or the versus a person that may not make it in the business, because obviously we're all individuals. One good thing here is that we have some cohesiveness and we all want to help each other. But at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do to help you feed your family, and or vice versa. We have to still go out there and service clientele. So when the market changes, like right now, in my opinion, for people that got into real estate now, the good and the bad part is the easy money's been made. Like if you've been in the business, 10 years and all that type of thing right now, it wasn't easy money for everybody, but it was easier for those where all you kind of had to do was work. So one of the big things that happens when a market changes is that people have to, number one, embrace the change. There's a lot of people still, and I know they've been in business a long time, and they're still denying that. They're denying the change that in the marketplace rather than embrace it. You want to embrace it, and you want to embrace it with a growth mindset. You want your mindset to be open. You want your mindset to be looking and receiving what things you can do to not only be successful today, but as you grow into it. One of the biggest things when the market is a little bit more slower now than it was previously is that this is the time to where you're able to pick up not only market share, but mind share. Now, you probably heard me say that before, but it's a much bigger deal than just saying it. Because, see, what happened is, like, a good example though is look at how AI is doing right now. And if you guys see a company like Nvidia, right? It seems like Nvidia just came on like all of a sudden, and if you pay any attention to the stock market, the stock in the company went up like $200 in a day and another $100 in a day, and it looks like all of a sudden this is an explosion, right? But Nvidia's been around a long time. The whole part about the AI situation where people that are really making money in Nvidia, for instance, right now, or people that made a whole lot of money with an Amazon or a Google, were the people that got in early. They got in ahead of what was happening, and they were already there. So when the market caught up to it and exploded, they exploded. Well, for us in our business, what we're looking to be is we're looking to be right here in that area where we're doing this work and we're doing this work. So when the market explodes again, see, we've already been positioned for it. And then people are jumping back in and they're trying to build business, but your business is already built. So now the phone calls are just coming in. Now everything seems to click because you've taken mind share. Because there may be people who thought of Elgin first, and Elgin fell off. But John's been working, and now they're ready to do it. They forgot all about Elgin, and John is their guy. Same with market share. You may have people that if you're farming or you're working in an area that they've been there, quote unquote, you hear it. So and so has been there forever. Elgin's been working that area, that city forever. How am I going to get in there? Well, the easiest time is when the market is a little bit slower and Elgin falls off a little bit because Elgin is trying to conserve the money that's going out. And they got fat and don't want to go out and knock on doors or something anymore. But you're out there doing it. All of a sudden, you're the face that they see. That's how you take market share. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight. It doesn't happen that day. But when the market begins to explode, you're the one that's there, and you're the one that's already going to receive it. Like we were talking Thursday. I mean, there are a lot of people that weren't doing anything, and now we've got a little blip. And in my opinion, it's a blip that the market is kind of taking off again, right? Well, the question that people have, and the question that I get is, well, how come it took off for you? It didn't take off for me like that. I mean, what did you do different? The only thing I did different was I kept working. I was working. I was working and not just being busy. So all of a sudden the market opens up for a minute, and all of a sudden, it's 3, 4, 5 transactions that come through that some other agents were not benefiting from that because they weren't working. So it's like they had turned the car off. So now they turn the car on. Now I've been driving, so now I'm in another state by now. So now all of a sudden you turn the car back on, you can't catch up. Can't catch up like that. So you never turn the car off. You may slow it down, you may get out the fast lane, but you keep driving forward. So continuously learn. You want to continuously learn, just like you're doing now. I mean, I think it's huge that we're here and nobody else showed up but us. Nobody else showed up but us. But guess what? You by continuously learning, talking, etc., we'll be the ones that benefit from this type of stuff. You'll benefit from this. You'll benefit from it because you've invested yourself in it. You've invested yourself in it for 6 o'clock to come in and work on your game, basically. You know, both Michael and I can tell you, have been up and working since very early this morning. So, you know, to come this time of the evening, still, this is normally a time even it's like, you know, no, dude, I'm not doing that. Where you're here and you're getting all that knowledge. And last is your mental toughness. It's easy when you're not experiencing immediate success to get bad habits or to not push forward. You have to remember that we are in a business that there very rarely is instant gratification. And I'm meaning that is if right now, after you got off this phone, somebody called you and they wanted to buy a house, or somebody called you and they were ready to pay cash for a house. They already had the house in mind. All you got to do is write up the transaction and close the deal, right? You're still not going to get paid today. You're still not going to, there's a process to that. So because of that, you have to remember that's why it's so important to stay engaged and to have momentum moving forward. Because if you don't, then you're not going to, you know, whatever you do today, realistically, the soonest that you're going to quote unquote see getting monetary value from that is 30 days from now. Most of the time you can figure, particularly if it's a listing or whatever, you know, and time you have to put into a buyer. I mean, realistically, you're about 60 days out, normally at best right now. So it's really about filling the pipeline. And once you get that momentum going, is that you stay in it. But a lot of people get out. They get out because they feel like, oh, it's not working, or they feel like, why am I doing this? I can't do this, and whatever the case may be. You gotta stay quote unquote mentally tough, and you have to believe. You have to really believe in the process. Believe in the process and understand that it will work. Any questions or anything on that, or any comments, Mike, that you have on that or anything?
No, I mean, I think you nailed it. It's a consistency of being, you know, your lead generation, building your relationships. But you touched on the last one too, learning. You know, we always have to learn something new all the time. I learned the other day in KV Core, I didn't know that you can embed a video in your emails, so you don't need BombBomb or Dub or anything. You can just take the code from YouTube, embed it, and drop it right in your email, and it'll come out there. So there's ways that you can do things, but you got to learn how to do all these little things, and you learn those by talking to people, by doing research on the internet. But you have all these people in front of you that have been there, done something before. You know, John Paul, you've got me, who's a little bit ahead of you, and then you got Elgin, who's a little bit ahead of me. Not a little, maybe a little bit more than a little bit, but you have all these people that are willing to help and that we can look up to that's done it before. You know, when Elgin started, he had somebody to look up to and said, "Oh, that's what you're doing. That's what you did to succeed. Well, I guess that's what I need to do then." And so we learn from them. You just have to be willing to find out who's being successful and start asking them and take a piece of that and put it into practice.
Because we started late, I'm going to go over one last thing. Do you have time, John?
Yeah, I have time.
I'm going to go over one last thing, because I think that there's a lot of YouTube stuff now and building your business through YouTube. I'm doing a lot of YouTube stuff right now. I mean, I'm doing a lot. I was doing a lot before. I've probably tripled X that now. I'm doing shorts. I'm trying to not trying to do different type of value add content. I think if, in my opinion, a person get into business right now, if you didn't do anything, that you really should start a YouTube channel. The whole chat GPT thing was a very hot topic, not just about, say, helping you build topics for like YouTube or stuff like that, but just a whole bunch of other stuff and stuff that the company's going to be doing. But there's a couple things, and I'm going to cut a couple of notes that hit with me about like leveraging YouTube to attract agents, and using YouTube to attract buyers and sellers. One of the biggest things is they talk about content creation and storytelling. That when you're on YouTube and you're giving it something of value, but you really want to tell in a story. You really want to tell in a story because people relate to that. Like even when you're in front of a customer one-on-one, and what YouTube allows you to do is to be in hundreds or thousands of customers one-on-one all of the time. And if once you get your YouTube channel going, the stuff that you put on there is embedded there for a lifetime. So you're speaking to people when if they subscribe to your channel, they're looking at your content over and over. So you want to reach people when you're talking to them. The old adage, is that stories actually sell, and stories do sell because people want you to be relatable. When you're talking to someone, and I'm saying quote unquote tell a story, you can talk about something like with yourself being involved, a story of yourself. Like, for instance, you can talk about the first time you were buying a house, or selling a house, or when you got your license, or whatever it is. You can talk about that, and there's going to be somebody that's going to relate to that. There's somebody's going to be related to you just telling your story, and I wasn't really doing that as much on YouTube. I do that in person all the time. I used to, when we were at meetings on Thursdays, I talk about stories about myself all the time. I wasn't really doing it on YouTube, but I've changed that. You also want to really learn some basics about the keywords. Again, these are things that are a little bit more technical that I'm not as good at, right? But you really, what is it called here? Now I'm trying to read my own writing. There actually is and you know what? I'll send it out. I don't have here exactly, but there's like an app or a search engine of where you can actually do it. You actually just take that back. You do it through Google. You can actually through Google type in a particular topic for keywords, and it'll tell you what are the top keywords for that topic, like over the last 30 days or 60 days or whatever. And what they're saying is that you'll get so much more out of your SEO for your positioning if you take one of those keywords and put them in your title, and you take some of those keywords and use them in your description. That immediately Google recognizes and or pushes you to a different position, so you reach more people. I thought, to me, that was huge, because I never do that. I just start talking and posting. I'm thinking like, okay, that's pretty strategic. That makes that makes some sense. Again, when you're making your videos and stuff, though, do your videos, and you want to not only have a topic, like, again, use an example, say buying a house. You don't want to just tell people, hey, you really should buy a house. What you really want to do is say, you know what, it's really a good time for you to buy a home, and here's what you need to do to purchase a home. You want to actually not only get people into the mindset of what they should do, but you explain to them how they do it. Why should I buy a house now? Or how do I buy? I'd love to buy a house. I have no idea where to start. Well, your video can give them those basic steps, and you give them enough steps of true value, but then they look at you as an expert again, and then they need to call you with a call to action that then gets them to move forward. Also, they were talking about getting thumbnails in your videos, and getting custom thumbnails just for your video. And they're going to places like Fiverr. If you've ever heard of Fiverr, Fiverr, you can pretty much go to Fiverr, and you can pretty much get just about anything you want done for $5. Very rarely more than $20. For $5, you can get a thumbnail read. When I wrote my books, I actually got all of the graphics and everything done on Fiverr. I think I paid $25 total for the front to back, and because I had a couple of them I didn't like. You can go there and there are people, and that's what their professions are that they do, and they make extra money doing that just on Fiverr. Um, they also talked about buying your own name as a domain, because I guess that it's become big business for people if they find out, like say you do something and as an influencer and it attracts people, that they look to try to buy your name. So as you get bigger, they'll buy they try to get, you want your name. Like if somebody buys Elgin Walker and I wanted to open up the Elgin Walker real estate channel, well, somebody else owns Elgin Walker. So then I have to buy my own name back. So they actually talked about thinking about buying your domain and or domains. They even talked about buying your kids' names as domains and stuff as that they become on the net. So actually that made a lot of sense to me. And really, really, really to build your brand and even use YouTube. I haven't done this yet, but I thought this was pretty brilliant. I hadn't thought about this. It's to use YouTube as a podcast channel. It's to actually do YouTube as a podcast live, even. You push the live button in YouTube, and now you got a podcast. Now you've got a visual podcast that you can do, and you can schedule particular times to do it with. You can interview other people. You can do those sorts of things, and to build and according to some of the people that are really using that feature, it's really increased their viewership by a lot, because obviously podcasting and stuff is the hot thing, but a lot of people go and either pay for it or start different podcast channels. You can just do it on YouTube. You can do it on YouTube, and I mean YouTube is owned by Google, which is still the largest search engine in the world, and you just get a lot of traction from it, and it is free. So that was some of the main highlights of like leveraging YouTube, and you can flip the same part from buying and selling with for clients to attracting real estate agents. You just change the topics a little bit. So any questions, my man, or comments?
I don't have a question of like the YouTube stuff, but I did of a workplace, like where I find the express offer thing so I could get certified.
In workplace, you can click into the search bar, just express offers.
Okay.
Express offers will come up, and for just about
That's
any
literally,
topic, yeah. And then from there, I think it's pinned at the top of what you need to do to go ahead and get to work on getting certified.
okay.
Okay.
You could do that, and as well if you go to Trackstar, where you went for your mentor training,
Yeah.
you can go in the search there, and one of the classes there will be express offers as well. But I would go through workplace, because you're going to connect to other people that are doing it, and you're going to start networking that way as well.
Sounds good.
Well, good. Any questions, John, while we're here, that you have on anything else that you want to ask Michael or I know Michael
Oh
is.
yeah. So the zero diamonds, is that like do I find that on YouTube, or is that just like does he personally do it on his own website?
Actually, you can find it both. You could actually type 0 to diamonds into the workplace search, and it'll show up, because he's part of EXP now, and he offers it to anybody. If you don't want to join it, you can do 0 to diamonds in YouTube, but I would do it. I would do it in workplace first, and then I would sign. And if I were you, I would sign up. I like Rick. And the reason I get his text is because I signed up for it once, because I wanted to see how it worked. If I were starting out new, Ricky is somebody that I would follow, and I would do his program. He's when we were at the shareholders, and I did not go to this class that he did, but other people did and raved about it. He actually on stage started making prospecting calls. He had a whole class that for, I don't know, 30, 35 minutes, he was called expires. And he was having dialogue with the expireds on stage, and he set about 5 or 6 appointments, from what I understand. so he, you know, and so again, it don't cost nothing to pick up the phone and the call. He uses Red X and a couple other things like that. But his dialogue and his talk are really good, and none of his he prides himself on not having ideas that cost us as agents a lot of money, and that's why he does his coaching program for free. You know, he's got a whole philosophy on that, and I let you listen to that on your own, or let Ricky talk about it himself. I don't think it's a bad philosophy. Everything is not there for everybody. Some stuff is better, and some people learn differently or different styles or whatever. But I think for particularly someone that's newer in the business, I think that getting involved in his program and not having to spend any money, you get some really, really honest, hands-on, high-level real estate training. You actually get skills. You actually get skills that you can use no matter what the marketplace is, and make and grow your business. So I don't get paid nothing for pushing Ricky's agenda. I just think it's great. I'm talking to somebody that's paid, like for this Mike Ferry thing Thursday. I actually coached with Mike personally many years ago. It was $1,000 a month. Yeah, it was $1,000, and $1,000 was $1,000. 20 years ago is different than $1,000 today. That $1,000 felt like 10,000 back then. But I was paying that for coaching. I paid a lot of money. I've got a library full of cassettes, because I used to buy a lot of tapes, and I ain't got nowhere to play them. I used to buy them and listen to them in the car and all that. Ain't nowhere to play them now. I ain't got a cassette player nowhere. I say that to be able to connect with someone who's still active in the marketplace and is very good. You get very good coaching for it. So that's actually why I recommend it, because of all the stuff I've spent and done in the past. So, all righty. Well, listen, if you have any other questions, man, or anything else, I always feel, obviously, you're in constant contact with Michael, but you can always reach out to me as well. And Mike, I know that you got some personal things going. I appreciate you being on the call, and that shows dedication. John, man, I hope you have a good rest of your day, your afternoon. And
could you just tell me where it's gonna be? It's not at the Valencia Country Club no more, right?
It's at the Oaks. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead,
Michael. Go ahead.
I was just saying it's at the Oaks community. I don't even know so much because I've never been over there for an event. So you know community? Better. The Oaks Country Club, right?
Oh, Oaks Country Club. Okay, it's a different country club. Okay.
So the Oaks is the Oaks is in the Westridge track. So basically, if you were coming from where you're coming from, you'd get off on Valencia Boulevard, and you'd make a left, and you come on the other side of the old road, and to your left, you'll see a country club. Before you get to the gates, you just come into the country club, and the Oaks is the restaurant. That's in there. I don't have the exact address off the top of my head, but it is called the Oaks. It used to be called something else. It used to be called the Grill or something, but it's the Oaks. Okay. And it's actually very easy to find. It's very easy, and it's a very good venue. It holds more people too, to be honest.
Okay.
All right.
Well, yeah, I'll be there then.
Good, man. I look forward to seeing you. Mike's a good teacher, and like I said, he's got a much different style, but he has good information. So you could come in and actually hear from a real estate coaching legend. And he really is, honestly. So I look forward to seeing you Thursday. Thank you for all your participation, and anything that I can do to help support your business, don't hesitate to reach out.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Hey, Mike, I'll see you later, my man. Enjoy your family, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thank you. Take care. See you later, John Paul. See you Thursday.
Yes, sir.